One more week. One more week of incompetence. One more week of never-ending disaster. One more week of patiently anticipating a new facial wrinkle. One more week of listening to the chorus of the cackling choir. One more week until the disastrous administration of Johnny B. Biden is finally over. We have one more week with Johnny B and the nonstop cackling of Cammy. 7 more days of this doom and watch Johnny B get lost in his own room. I think I speak for most normal people when I say, I can't wait. I cannot wait for this week to be over. There's just no other way to describe the last 4 years without using the word disaster. It has been one embarrassment after another. Who can forget all the lasting memories that Johnny B. Biden has given us? Do you remember the time that Johnny humiliated us on a global stage in Afghanistan? Do you remember the time that John Biden signaled to the world that America is weak? Do you remember the time that Johnny B told us that inflation was transitory? He promised that inflation was only temporary and you wouldn't be paying $3 per gallon for gas forever. As it turns out, Johnny B. Biden wasn't lying about that, because soon after, we were paying $4 a gallon. Do you remember the time that John Biden claimed that 2.9 million jobs had been created in the year of our Lord 2023? We eventually found out that Johnny B was off by a cool 800,000 and only 2.1 million jobs were created. My bad, I thought we were counting votes. Deacons at Woke United Methodist, they are claiming that history is going to be kind to Joe Biden. And look, maybe they're right. My good friend Georgie W., when he left the White House in January of 2009, George Bush was viewed as a pariah. The country was in the midst of the Great Recession, where W proved he was right when he said, I'm no economer. Yeah. No shit. The war on terror was still going. The country was experiencing war fatigue. When my good friend Georgie left office, his approval rating, 33%. 10 years later, after we had a decade to look back at his presidency, Georgie's approval rating was 61%. So maybe, just maybe, the deacons are right about John Biden. 10 years from now, we might look back at the last 4 years and think, that Johnny B. Biden was all right. I sure do miss paying $15 for a gallon of spoiled milk. Unfortunately for Johnny B. Biden, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think John Biden will be remembered similar to how we remember the presidency of Jimmy Carter. Problem for John Biden? He doesn't have the time to resurrect his reputation. His administration has been one embarrassment after another. So it's only fitting that on his way out of the White House, Johnny B. Biden once again found a way to humiliate himself. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. Yesterday on the second channel, we talked about the suspension of Zion Williamson and the ongoing disaster with the pathetic Pelicans. I was brutally honest with my assessment of this soft organization. So if you haven't already, head over to the second channel and check it out. Sure, you guys know by now that Mark Zuckerberg has eliminated fact-checking on Facebook. This was great news for the few hundred people who still actively use Facebook, but the media, they are looking at this as an attack on free speech. According to the media, the elimination of fact-checking, it gives people the opportunity to express hate speech. It also gives people the opportunity to spread dangerous mis- and disinformation. It also allows people to spread cis-information, which is classified as anything posted by cisgender white men. I guess the media thinks that everyone being allowed to share their opinion will bury the truth. Everyone being allowed to speak freely will bury accurate information from reliable sources. Reliable sources like the Donut Diva, Brian Stelter. Basically, the media is concerned because this influx of information, it will bury their lies. Over the weekend, John Biden gave one of his final press conferences before he leaves the White House to permanently return to his Delaware dungeon. My inside sources, they are telling me that Johnny B is very excited for his return. For Christmas, pretend Dr. Jill, she bought Johnny a new scepter. While she's been packing their belongings, Johnny B has been in the Situation Room practicing with his new toy. Once he returns to the dungeon, he'll be ready to slay the dragons. But before his departure, he had to meet one last time with his pretend friends in the mainstream media. One of the topics was the super nerd eliminating fact checking from Facebook, or as Johnny B kept calling it, facts checking. I don't know if Johnny B knows this, but fax machines aren't really used anymore. Fax checkers would have been needed in the 1990s, but in the year 2025, fax machines are pretty much obsolete. John Biden appeared to be reading from a script as he shared these remarks. Since Johnny B's had some trouble recently reading off the teleprompter, they decided to give him a piece of paper with these remarks. Unfortunately, Johnny still struggled. Watch it for yourself.
Walking away from fact checking, as well as not reporting anything having to do with discrimination regarding TPS, I find to be just contrary to American justice, the way we talk about one another. Telling the truth matters. I mean, I know I'm on national television, but you all are local reporters and national reporters. I'm not, this is not a legit, real question, but what do you think? You think it doesn't matter that they let be printed where millions of people read it, things that are simply not true? I mean, I don't know what that's all about. It's just completely contrary to everything America's about. We want to tell the truth. You know, a billionaire can buy something and say, by the way, from this point on, we're not gonna fact check anything.
What? Excuse me? Did the father of lies just tell me that the truth matters? After 4 years of deception, you want to tell me that the truth matters? How come the truth didn't matter when it came to Hunter B. Biden? How come the truth didn't matter when it came to Donnie Trump? For the last 18 months, you have been telling me that Donnie Trump was a threat to democracy. Then, at Jimmy Carter's funeral, I see Barry Obama trying to become besties with the Trumper. Hey, Donnie, it's me, Barry! Can we be friends? Let's be Goombas! All of a sudden, they are overly concerned with Facebook. They have been concerned about Twitter since Elon Musk bought it. They claim the platform is filled with misinformation. But you know what's strange? I never hear these same concerns about Blue Sky. I never hear these same concerns about Reddit, a platform filled with bitter, angry, lonely women and the men pretending to be them. They only seem to be concerned about the platforms that normal people are using. I wonder why. Since John Biden is suddenly concerned about the truth, Uncle KC will deliver the truth. Truth is, this is not about misinformation. This is not about lies and propaganda. Lies have been printed for decades. We used to call it the media. Now we just call it propaganda. What this is really about is control. The reason the mainstream media is concerned now is because they no longer control the narrative. I have said this repeatedly since the election. I'll say it again. Donnie Trump, he didn't just defeat Cam Harris. If you don't believe me, I'll show you a clip of John Biden here in just a second that proves Donnie didn't beat Cammie. Like I've said the past 2 months, the biggest loser in this election, it was not cackling Cam Harris, it was the mainstream media. Ratings down, subscriptions down. They lost control of Twitter. They have now lost control of Facebook. They've lost control of the narrative, which means they've lost control of you and me. At one point during this press conference, John Biden was asked about the election. The clip cuts off the full question, but judging by his answer, I'm assuming that someone from the media asked him about stepping aside to allow Cam Harris to be the replacement loser. Naturally, though, John Biden, he believes that he could have beaten the Trumper, even though Kim Possible knows that was impossible. But not only does Johnny B think that he could have beaten the Trumper, he also thinks that Cam Harris could have beaten Donald Trump. Just watch it for yourself.
I would have beaten Trump, could have beaten Trump, and I think that Kamala could have beaten Trump, would have beaten Trump. I thought it was important to unify the party. And when the party was worried about whether or not I was going to be able to move, I thought, even though I thought I could win again, I thought it was better to unify the party.
Aren't you glad this is over? This is what we have been dealing with the last 4 years. I admire his confidence, but I'm struggling to understand how Cam Harris could have beaten the Trumper, considering the fact she lost in a landslide. You know, I think Joe Biden is leaving the White House with the one thing you never want to have. Not only do you not want to have it, Joe Biden, he's leaving the White House knowing he doesn't have time to change it, because Joe Biden's leaving the White House with regret. I think he regrets stepping aside and allowing Cam Harris to take over. I think he regrets listening to his pretend friends who were begging him to step down. But that one decision confirmed what we all knew about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not a leader, because a real leader moves forward. A real leader, he stays with his vision even when everyone else has lost faith. I think Joe Biden knew it was a mistake then, and he damn sure knows it's a mistake now. I'm not saying that he had a chance to beat the Trumper. Obviously, that was not going to happen, but I do think Joe Biden had a better chance than cackling Cam Harris. What about you? Is stepping aside Joe Biden's biggest regret? Would the election have been closer if Joe Biden stayed in the race? Also, how do you think history is going to remember him? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. Best way to contact me is through email, btlkc84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys later.